And welcome back to another episode of Jarrod and Julie on TV. My name is Jarrod.
My name's Julie.
That's our theme music, made by our expert musician of a child.
It's very peppy.
We're back. Thank you to everyone, first of all, for listening to our first episode and for subscribing and leaving reviews or ratings on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And YouTube. Thank you to everyone who's been listening on YouTube. This time we watched it twice because we watched this and then we watched the Oscars.
Yeah, we were watching the Oscars and then we paused to watch Suits and then we went back to the Oscar.
And so we're going to try. So we've watched it twice. And hopefully there won't be as much confusion as we did last time because once again, there's just a lot of information that's getting thrown at you right from the beginning. And again, I was taking notes and I'm like, what the hell's going on?
This one was way less ping-pongy.
I disagree.
Really?
I think there were just like a minute or 30-second scenes and then it would bounce to another one.
It was, but it felt like this storyline was way more streamlined and it wasn't quite as like, Maybe it's because we got thrown in on the last episode and in this one you kind of understand the characters a little bit better and you're not like as confused, but I don't know.
So I figure we would go storyline by storyline instead of trying to keep up with the pace of the show, which is just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. A couple of things before we get started on our review. This episode is called Old Man Hanrahan. It was written by Aaron Korsh, who also is the creator of Suits, and it was directed by Anton Cropper. Suits LA stars Stephen Amell, Lex Scott Davis, Josh McDermitt, and Bryan Greenberg. Only 4 people in the
main cast.
The main cast, thank you. First of all, before we get to that, this is the first show that was filmed in LA. The pilot was filmed in Vancouver. This is the first show that was filmed in LA. Which means tidbit. That it was filmed in Universal Studios, which is
furniture we saw.
With the furniture we saw on our VIP tour.
Connections.
Yeah, the one piece of furniture I remember said Stewart's apartment. So I'm looking forward to that scene so I can be like, I saw that.
You're like, Stewart's apartment. You're going to be so excited.
This is also the first time we've seen the credits.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to start out with Ted talking to Erica about Dylan and Erica being like kind of
sassy.
There was a your mom joke that kind of failed. Have you ever done that? Have you ever, I mean, you probably didn't make as many mom jokes.
I've never made a your mom joke.
There's that rare 99% or that rare 1% where their mom's dead. I mean, as you get older, that percentage goes up, but there was one guy that I worked with and he was like, I get really mad when people talk bad about my mom. And I wasn't thinking one time and I said something about his mom and he's like, you know that you're not supposed to say stuff. And I do. I'm sorry. I make your mom jokes to everybody. It's like your mom and that's what she said. Those jokes just, I don't consider people's feelings.
It was kind of an abrupt change in their dynamic. Because this was like the first scene in the episode too, this was kind of an abrupt change in the way that she interacted with him. And so it was kind of like, oh, okay, like they're being playful now.
Yeah.
And they weren't last episode, and that's the first episode. So I'm confused. I'm like, have they always had this banter? And the last episode was just really stressful. And so they weren't like this. Like, I don't know. Like, but it just seems very abrupt. I know I've said abrupt like 4 times, but it's very sudden to me that they are now having this banter and she's doing a your mom joke at him. But
it's hard to have a status quo when you've only had 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
Anyway, he's pointing out that Dylan, the big star from last episode, who signed with the firm to be with Rick, she has 2 movies. She has 2 movie commitments. She has an indie film and an action film franchise with Warner's.
Yes.
And so he needs Erica to get that worked out because the indie movie is conflicting and it's going to jam her up from starting.
But she doesn't really understand like which one
Yes, he makes a comment.
It's the priority.
You know which one's the priority. And she's like, yeah, totally. Which leads to her going to Leah and asking her for some help.
I like Leah.
Because
she's funny.
She messed up last time, but
she's quirky.
She does have a knowledge. She's like, of course I know Dylan. I know everything about her.
Mm-hmm. She watches movies.
Dylan is played by Victoria Justice, and
I have no idea who that is.
I know, and that's the funny thing is like
you were like, yeah, from Nickelodeon.
I was like, she's from Nickelodeon.
I don't know who that is. And it's funny because I'm the Nickelodeon generation.
I had at the time a niece that watched Nickelodeon shows, and so I kind of I watched like some of the stuff with her. And so I watched it to talk to her about stuff.
Oh.
And so I'm familiar with that era of Nickelodeon.
Different era than when I was a kid.
Also, there was that summer when I was injured and I was on mad amounts of pain pills and I just watched TV all the time. And I watched Degrassi.
That's when you were watching Degrassi?
On Nickelodeon. So I would see her doing like music videos and doing commercials and stuff. So that's how I know Victoria Justice.
That's why you love Degrassi. Okay.
Yes. We're going to stick with the Dylan storyline. Dylan calls Rick and is like, who is Erica?
Mm-hmm.
And he has to explain to her that's the new head of entertainment for the firm.
He's very kind about it.
Yeah. And he's like, I left for she's like, I thought you were going to be my lawyer. And he's like, I can't because I left for another firm.
They have a non-compete.
Yes.
Or like a no poaching agreement or something like that.
Yes. So she's like, well... He's like, I'm sure that she'll take care of you.
He's being kind of a stand-up dude, considering he, like, abandoned them.
And I have a theory on that later on.
Okay. Like...
Yes, but he is being very, like, down the middle.
He's being a good guy.
Yes.
Even though we hate him. We hate you.
Now, speaking of people we don't like, the next scene... in this storyline is Stuart and Samantha talking about Rick's position. That's right, Stuart gets the bad guy music.
Because he's a baddie.
Because they have betrayed Ted.
We don't like him.
Stuart and Samantha are talking about Rick's position and the apparent promotion to head of entertainment, but it wasn't really authorized by
she didn't authorize
Samantha. So
she's revoking it. And she's like, do you want to tell him or do you want me to do it?
And so that leads to another scene where Erica talks Dylan's deal with the producer and the writer of the indie film.
The financier is kind of a jerk.
Of course he's a producer, and producers are dicks.
But the writer, we like.
The writer is a friend of Dylan's, and she just wants to...
help her out.
Or she acknowledges that Dylan is helping her out.
Yeah. She bonds with Leah. They bond. It's cute.
And everybody's playing nice at the time, and they're making a point of, let's get this schedule worked out.
Yeah, they end on a good note where they're going to compromise, and... the writer's like, you're doing a good job, Leah. And I love that. Like, someone needs to give her some praise. Back
at the evil law firm, Rick and Stuart have a talk about him bringing in a big client. Because it's the nice view. It's a nice view from this office. And he's like, well, I'm the head of entertainment. He's like, still a nice view. He's like,
you got to earn it. Earn that title.
So he tells him to bring in a big client. And Rick says, the only way I can bring in a big client is if I poach.
You're gonna poach
from
somebody.
Ted. And that is not...
because he likes to build relationships. And that's like the ongoing theme for him, is that he builds relationships with his clients, as opposed to Erica, who kind of like looks down on him for that approach.
Correct. Now, the next time we talk about Dylan's deal, there was an error. Leah put too much information in the deal, and they've taken the advantage of that. And
they want money.
They want money,
so they get paid out,
hoping that Warner's is just going to pay them off. And then Rick shows up, And it flat out says, like, just let me have her.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take her. And Erica, there's obviously still a competition between Erica and Rick, and it'll come into play later.
He's like, sign this
saying
paper
it's
that
okay,
says it's okay
that I can pursue her.
And he like baits her into it, and I'm like, there's no way it's gonna be this easy. Like, it's not this obvious. She's not gonna sign it. Duh. And then she's like,
fine.
Okay, fine. And I'm like, what? That's so like obvious. Like, I was a little disappointed by that moment. But then it's like, okay, you wouldn't have the rest of the episode. I'm sure they're setting it up. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, okay, fine.
So Rick talks with Dylan's producer guy for the indie film. And he tries to
strong arm him a little bit.
Yeah, he tries to tell him, like, hey, I'm going to sue you if you don't play ball.
You operate in bad faith.
Yeah, and that's when he reveals, hey, the scene count's gone up because...
Yeah, I guess nobody knew that.
Yeah.
And why are they all, like, out of the loop? Like, are they just not good at communicating? Like, who's not communicating with who? Because Erica didn't know that either. So, like, why doesn't anyone know this?
I don't know. And to think that someone could rush... We don't really know how long this time frame was, but to think that someone could do another pass at a script
and add,
that
like,
quick
that many scenes.
And add that many scenes is ridiculous. Erica has an idea on how to play ball with the producer, and she says, hey, let him know I have some money from Warner's. Let's have a meeting. Set me up a meeting at a restaurant with a lot of people.
And she really, like, dismisses Leah, because Leah comes in, like, Rick has given them the new script, because, again, they want you to know that he's kind of a stand-up guy, even though we hate him. Like, hey, he's given them the script and let them know there's been all these additions to the script. Now she has like 40 whatever scenes. And Leah has read it. And she's like, hey, this is really good. I have an idea. And Erica's like, oh, no. Set me up a dinner.
Yeah, I'm going to strong arm this guy.
She just dismisses her. She
tells him, hey, Dylan's going to have to do promotional work for Warner's. So she can't do any of your scenes if you're going to play like this.
Nothing's stopping her from doing promotional work.
Yeah, and he said, well, she can't do a promotion for a franchise she hasn't even started with. And then it's a matter of like, oh, well, that's going to take away all my time.
And she's kind of like, she's not telling the truth.
Yeah, she's bluffing.
So it's just like, it's a good representation of her and Rick's different styles.
Yes.
Like how they approach supporting their clients. And you get to really see that in this episode. And they kind of gave you a sneak peek last episode, and you really get to see it play out in this episode and how they fight for her here. And she wins initially.
Yes. Initially, Dylan decides to go break the news to Rick that she's going to stay with Erica.
Because they got her out of the indie.
Got her
out of doing the indie movie.
And as she's leaving, he's like, hey, did you read the script? And then it cuts. And then he returns to Erica's office with the new paperwork. He has signed Dylan away from Erica. It's all a matter of him listening to his client and understanding what they want.
Because he built a relationship with her.
But he also knows how to manipulate her. Because they've apparently had a past relationship. And they...
Yeah, they waited till the end, and they're like, that thing we used to do. We stopped doing that thing we used to do. And like what? Like, were they in a relationship? Did they used to play pickleball? I'm so confused.
It sounds like they were banging. But it just shows that sometimes Rick's way of doing things is going to win out. This is a lesson learned for Erica. There's a sports analogy that you did not understand.
Second sports analogy that went completely over my head. Please remind me what it was.
It's Kobe Bryant.
Okay. Because
Ted is talking to Erica afterwards and is like, hey, have you seen that picture of me at the Lakers game? And he's talking about how he was from New York and he never thought he would be a Laker fan, but then he saw Kobe and he was impressed with Kobe about how Kobe never gave up, kept trying. Like, had a terrible rookie year And
did he? Is that a thing?
Yeah, he's talking about how he had 4 air balls in one game.
I don't know what an air ball is.
It's when you shoot for the basket and absolutely miss.
Okay.
But he never gave up, and his nickname was Black Mamba. And that's why she said, does that make me Black Mamba 2.0?
I thought she was talking about Kill Bill. I was like, are we doing a Kill Bill reference? I was so confused. Isn't that the snake from Kill Bill?
Probably. The key here is to never underestimate Rick.
And something happened between him and Erica at some point. But there's really not a lot of chemistry. I don't know. You tell me if you feel that way. I don't feel like they have a lot of chemistry.
Well, that's because we're seeing their relationship on the tail end after. So we don't know.
Maybe they'll do a flashback.
I'm sure there will be flashbacks. Anyway, Stuart gets the papers from Rick that signed Dylan, and so they're happy that they're doing bad guy stuff.
He gets his promotion. Hooray, bad guys.
Going backwards to when Rick drops the paperwork off and has the communication with Erica. When he's leaving, he stops, he pauses, he looks over at the office, and there's Ted. Ted's just standing there glaring through the glass. Now, when I am mad at somebody and I see them, I am either going to give them the death stare or I am going to just look away and pretend they don't exist. But Ted gives him a nod.
Yeah, I don't nod at people that I am mad at. I pretend they don't exist.
So stand by, everybody, for Jarrod's crazy theory, because I'm always looking for the swerve.
I'm ready.
What if Ted, after he realized what was going on with Stuart, decided to do the exact same thing to them as they tried to do to him? What if Rick is Ted's spy?
Ooh. Rick is so nice. It just seemed so unlikely that he would leave Ted, like, for Stuart. It just seemed like such a out of character. I mean, we only knew him for like a second in the first episode. So it just seems so like, oh my gosh, this is shocking that he left.
Yes.
So this theory you have seems somewhat plausible.
Roll with me here.
I'm rolling.
What if it was like, look, I want you to make this as convincing as possible. I want you to... Because this way, with this theory, then he gets to keep Erica too.
Yeah.
He gets to keep Erica, convince her that she's on the right side by staying with Ted. And then Rick goes and does damage by being the spy, but he's got to do a little bit of damage in the beginning to show his loyalty. Let's keep an eye on this for the rest of the season.
I mean, there is a lot of looking through glass windows in this episode.
Yes.
We're going to need to take data on the number of nods that Ted does.
Well, right now it's
Rick.
1.
1 nod. Okay.
Let's wrap up Erica's storyline here. She learns that she needs to trust Leah because Leah wanted to be a writer, and Leah knows what a good script is.
She knows about entertainment. And Erica admits that she does not understand what good movies and TV look like. And that's probably a weakness for her. And I love that she says that she's going to like mentor Leah. Like they recognize their strengths and weaknesses. She's going to mentor Leah. Leah's going to help her with that aspect, which is what Leah wanted, was some mentorship. So hooray, professional growth.
Which is what, yeah, agreed. Finally recognizing that you need help from other people to strengthen your weaknesses. Now let's real quick, because we really spent a lot of time on Erica and Rick. Let's really quick talk about the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Basically, we're learning more about what happened in 2010, what happened in New York. Ted was at a comedy show with Samantha, which was one of her clients did impressions.
Yeah.
And long story short, he gets the idea because he's still working the Billy case of who killed Billy. Billy was his star witness. And he still needs a star witness.
Now he is deceased.
So he comes up with the idea to use Samantha's client as a impersonator.
Yeah.
So he says to Kevin, who do you think did it? It doesn't have to be concrete. Just give me somebody that you think killed.
Or we don't need proof.
Yeah. Who do you think killed Billy? And he goes, Jimmy. It's got to be Jimmy. So he gets Jimmy in the interrogation room after he arrests him.
In front of the boss.
In front of the mob boss. He gets him in the interrogation room, and he's like, I know you did it. I've got Billy in the next room. To which Jimmy's like, I saw that explosion.
He's not alive.
Billy's dead. So what they've done is they take the tapes of the confessions. They have the comedian say a few lines to
impersonating
him to lead up to him rattling off how many people they've killed.
Unethical.
The mob lawyer is like, hey, don't worry about this. I'll get you out of here. And Ted says to Jimmy, like, he's not here for you. I can get you witness protection.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jimmy tells the lawyer, get out of here.
So now we know.
So now we are assuming that is what happened in New York. The slightly unethical thing that he did.
Which, I mean, I guess they can do that, but...
I thought they were allowed to lie.
They're allowed to lie.
Police are allowed to lie.
Yeah, but to bring in like a comedian like that, like it just seems like, are you allowed to do things like that? I don't know. It's a television show, so...
I'm sure that they're going to flesh it out more, but that seems to be the thing that happened in 2010. And then Samantha argues with Ted, but because of course her client tells her everything that happened.
See, and that just seems like a big hole in like your situation there. Like the comedian goes and tells people.
But says the thing is like she maybe is an entertainment lawyer, but that's still attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, but is he telling other people? I just think this was a big mistake. But anyway, yeah, I'm sure we'll find out more later.
So that's probably the thing that happened in New York. So let's talk about.
She just forgives him so easily too.
Yeah, that's.
She's just like, okay, fine. And I'm like,
she throws in a jab. She's like, you're just like your dad, and he's like, ouch.
Okay, what would I do without you?
Sorry. Also, did the couple interaction remind you of a certain couple from Duffy, Georgia there for a minute?
No.
It didn't? The back and forth of like arguing and then it's like, well, we'll make up real quick. Let's do physical things.
No. But now that you bring it up, it does a little bit. But I was just shocked that they made up so quickly that it just kind of like took me out of there. I was like, this is not realistic. Because if you had done that, I would be very cross with you.
All right, now we're moving back into present day. Let's talk about Ted's storyline.
I feel like his was less,
It was fleshing out the murders.
Yeah, it had less adventure, so.
Yeah, the Lester situation is coming up. He talks to Amanda about Old Man Hanrahan.
The different prosecutors that could be,
who's supposed
taking
to
the
be,
case.
He's supposed to be the DA. Kevin and Ted are talking about the murder with Lester in a deposition. Might not even be a deposition. It might just be an initial statement.
Like discovery.
But it sounds like, according to Lester, he was doing ecstasy with his
friend,
business partner, and it wasn't kicking in, so they took some more, and then they started shooting guns, and then the dude started talking about how he
just got real sad.
Yeah. And he just shot himself. And some of the quotes from that, after they talked, they're like, okay, we'll get back to you. And he's like, something's not right. But Ted says he's not a murderer.
But yeah, his story doesn't add up. Like there's something missing.
Yes, because when he goes to talk to the ADA, that is not Old Man Hanrahan. It's a woman. Smith. And she says, hey, I am the ADA on this, and here's your plea deal, because that's all you're going to get, and it's 10 years.
I'm doing discovery, and I'm finding out all kinds of things.
So much.
And I've got people lined up around the block to say he's a liar, and he's like, oh, no.
So Ted has Kevin doing investigation on their side, and Kevin finds evidence on Lester that Lester was stealing from
his business partner.
His business partner, whose name we should probably remember because we are a podcast.
It's obviously not that important.
So Ted meets with Amanda to talk about ADA Smith, and she says, like...
She's the worst.
She's the worst, basically.
But Ted and Kevin have a small kerfuffle, like, in the foyer of the building. And they kind of fight about... Ted really wants to believe him that he is not a murderer. And Kevin's like, this dude's a liar.
all the evidence is supporting that this guy is a scumbag.
He's a liar, and you need to get with it and come to terms with the fact that this dude may be a liar and you may be defending a murderer, and you need to get with it and decide if that's what you want to do, basically. And Ted's really like having a hard time with that.
We find out that Lester he admits to stealing.
He does.
But that he was stealing from the other guy because he found out that guy was stealing.
He stole like $500,000 from production.
So he's stealing it back and then getting money back to the studio by not claiming as much.
He's Robin Hooding the situation.
Yeah.
He's like Robin Hood.
That was my favorite. He's like, Robin Hood didn't murder Little John. And they Kevin and Ted finally kind of have a moment where it's like, hey.
They're good.
Yeah, they kind of talk it through, and it's like, you might have to realize, like, if this guy is guilty, you can walk away.
He keeps saying, I'm going to drive off that bridge when I get there.
Yes.
How many bridges is he going to drive off of? He says it multiple times.
And then we get the Harvey Specter reference that was kind of referenced in the
Is that
clips.
What that was?
Are you serious?
Yes.
Are you new here?
Yes, because I was like, and they're talking about some baseball game. And I was so
He grabbed
confused.
the picture and said, what's this guy's name? And he said the wrong name. And he's like, his name is Harvey. And you know that.
Because he's a bigger, like, egomaniac than you.
Yeah.
I never watched Original Suits. So I don't know what Harvey Specter looks like.
I've sent you clips.
I know. I wasn't paying attention, like, to that part. Because it was hard for me to make out the pictures on the photo in the scene. And if I had watched Original Suits, I probably would have been like, boom, Harvey Specter. But I just wasn't looking for the cameo.
It wasn't really a cameo. It was a reference.
I wasn't looking for the reference.
But that connects the shows. Because now you know.
They know each other.
Ted and Harvey knew each other in New York.
Okay. Well, that makes sense to me now. But I that one went over my head too. Some of this is going to be me catching up. Sports references and Original Suits will be me catching up.
So after we get the Kobe talk between Ted and Erica, ADA Smith shows up to tell Ted, yes, that there's no offer on the table anymore.
Lester's wife
was banging the victim,
partner.
the business partner, whose name I should probably look up.
Wahahahaha.
Oh, why not?
We don't know that he's a bad guy.
Yes, but they're making it seem that way.
I don't think he deserves the bad guy music.
But the implication.
I think you need real hard facts to play the bad guy music.
It's just so fun.
I know it is. But she wants to gloat because she's kind of mean.
She is, but then there's a moment where her and Amanda have a little face-to-face.
Oh, I loved that moment because it's very obvious that she put away one of Amanda's pro bono
clients because she said, you killed him. You might as well have.
Yeah, died in prison somehow. And she's like, I will help Ted if he asks me.
Yeah, she's like, you better stay away from this case because it's a loser. And she's like, well, I was going to stay away from it. But now, yeah, if Ted asks,
I will run to help him.
So we're getting the battle lines drawn. We're getting more of the plot.
And you get another moment where Ted is at the window staring.
Very observant, yes.
Staring. There's so many moments, not so many, but there's several moments. And I want to see if this continues. And I may take data on this. Where he's like at a window or a door, because there's windows all over this office, staring at people. And I don't know if it's because the situation happened last episode, and so now he's super observant because of the betrayal, or is he just an observant fellow and he wants to observe everyone? What is he doing? Why isn't he doing lawyer things? Why is he staring at everyone?
It was late at night, but I would probably say that would make the betrayal that much deeper between him and Stewart because he is observant and he never saw this coming.
He never saw it.
This is how bad that was.
I feel like Stewart was on the other floor, though.
He very well could have been. But that brings us to the end of the episode. I wanted to point out a couple of things. One, the rating on IMDb for the pilot episode is 6.4. I don't really take a lot of stock in ratings.
I'm a little surprised at that. And you said that there were some not awesome reviews for it, which
there were some not awesome reviews, but there are also some reviews that said it was better than the original.
Oh, good. Okay.
But the IMDb rating for this episode is better at 7.6.
Well, good. I enjoyed it.
Also, the ratings went up significantly through Peacock. I'm wondering how the ratings are going to be because they went head-to-head with the Oscars.
Yeah, that kind of sucked for them.
That wasn't the best idea, but...
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? Like,
what are you going to do? I mean, I switched over.
Night. Yeah, like, we did. We switched over and watched Suits. Like,
so let me talk social media at you. If you are still on Twitter, we are at Jarrod and Julie, Jarrod and Julie. We are on Blue Sky, jxjtv.bluesky.social. And we are on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at Jarrod and Julie. I try to keep it simple.
I like it. Are we doing things on Instagram?
I've got a couple of posts.
Okay.
I've got their post about the ratings. Suits LA premiere shows big growth with streaming.
Cool.
So come find us wherever you are on all your social medias. Again, thank you to everyone who's leaving comments and listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube.
YouTube's fun.
YouTube is good. So once again, thank you for joining us. Let's find out what the next episode is titled, because I believe there's already a preview out. The next episode is called He Knew.
He Knew.
Ted and Kevin learn shocking news about Lester's partner's murder. Erica and Leah handle a strange celebrity request. Flashback shows Ted involving Stuart in a mob investigation. The plot thickens, my friends.
Ooh.
So, we will see you back next week for another episode of Suits LA. This has been Jarrod and Julie on TV. My name is Jarrod.
My name's Julie.
And we will see you next time.